Hey, it's Jay here. Welcome to a video about how difficult every base is in Blackhawk Rescue Mission 5. Timestamps are in the description for exactly what base you want to know about. I will be running solo for this entire operation. Welcome to the docks. I wanted to start off with a harder base to raid, that way you guys could see how I'm going to be going about my difficulty ratings. When first starting here at the docks, I noticed that the enemies can be faced one at a time. The upper layer here seems to be the easiest to go through. I chose a Scarage with an ACOG sight and a Summit vertical grip to go with it. It worked pretty well for me. I don't exactly know why there are enemies inside of these trucks. They don't move. Moving on. After swiftly cleaning up the upper layer, I decided to try and thin out some of the enemies below. You can see from the footage that I almost die. The AI here at the docks are no joke. They made me run through my medical supplies and ammunition quickly. Down to my last mag on my Scar, I decided to swap to my pistol. I didn't exactly choose the best sidearm for this area. They got me through a few enemies, but it was pitiful at longer distances. I actually thought I was almost finished. Then I found out I left quite a few guards over here towards the ship. I was able to clean up a few with some precise shots from my silenced M9. I knew from the lack of gunfire that I was close. I couldn't think of anywhere I had left unchecked, other than this area right here. I didn't know. Until I saw the last enemy. Now I had a frag grenade. It was a long throw, but I knew my character could make the throw. After all, he is the... yeah, it didn't make it. Let's just move on, please. This is what I call a quick way back to spawn. I'm going to speed up this entire process. You've seen me run through these enemies before. They still got me pretty low, even with knowing how they acted. They flanked off, and which really caught me off guard and almost killed me sometimes. Equipped with a C7A2, I had plenty of ammo to sling at these guys. Even with my ammunition and knowledge advantage though, they still put up a pretty good fight and almost killed me sometimes. Taking out the last enemy now, I had done it. The docks was finished. Soloing the docks in Blackhawk Rescue Mission 5 was pretty tough. It took a lot of game knowledge to get through. I got a 7.8 out of 10 in terms of difficulty ratings. This was one of the tougher ones. Now, let's move on to the desert. Welcome to Chara, a tough and crude desert complex full of enemies. If you make a mistake, every enemy could fire at you at the same time. You have to be careful and take your time. This space is one of the first new players go to. It teaches them how to hide behind cover and use angles to their advantage. I moved to the right when I knew it was safe to do so. Pushing in, it gets a little more close quarters. An enemy could easily dump a full mag and take you out. You had to be quick in taking them out. Also, free the hostages for a bonus amount of cash and EXP. With the final enemy eliminated and last hostage freed, I give this base a 2.4 out of 10. The enemies do not seem to flank and move on your position all that much here. Let's move on to the next base. Welcome to the Quarry, a mine shaft with many twists and turns that could get you lost and leaves you open to many flanking options. The tunnels are very narrow, so I ran an MP5 with a flashlight, handguard, and a suppressor. A close quarters weapon does the best for these tunnels. The enemies here are in a set location if you move into the tunnels. If you have ever been here in game, you know exactly what to expect. There is one hallway that the enemies do seem to run down, and it could catch you off guard if you are a newer player. Just keep an eye out for that hallway and take your time. After taking care of the enemies in the main hallway, I simply walk around until I take out all of the enemies. This base, for obvious reasons, is getting a 1.6 out of 10. My reason for that is that the quarry is too linear. Even though it has many turns, going down through these tunnels takes you straight to the enemies. I wish there were more rooms with enemies inside to ambush the player. Another thought is having more enemies outside. It is a shame that the crane and the houses do not have any enemies for operators to take out. This would give a sense of attack to the players, instead of running a fetch quest inside the tunnels. Even hostages would do a little more for this area. Let's move to the next place. Flying the mountain, I made a realization. I haven't been here on the Operation Resurgence update. I didn't exactly know what to expect on my first run. I can go ahead and tell you though, the revamped AI system makes this base a little more challenging. With their knowledge of flanking and actually moving towards you and pushing your position, it gets a little dicey here and there. Moving up the mountain, I used third person to gain the advantage of knowing where the enemy was. As I mentioned before, the AI move around more. This guy was scouting my location. Now the entire base knew where I was. I had to pick up the sniper and keep moving. I know this is moving really fast, but did you catch the horde of enemies pushing my location? I took him out with a frag grenade. If I didn't have that, I would have been taken out. I had no cover from their position. Slowly picking off enemies one by one, I decided to make my move. A few guards were up here by the tents. They were pretty easy pickings. I noticed one guard in the tower though, and I tried to shoot at him now, but I got flanked by this guy. This was getting close. Low on health and being flanked, I knew it was either me or this guy here. With a messy spray, I took him out. Healing up now, I felt like I had the advantage. I ran around until all the enemies were taken out. I noticed that I left the guy in the tower, climbing up here and shooting a bulletproof glass. I moved on to him and took him out, conquering the mountain. This base surprised me, coming in at a 5.7 out of 10. With a quick throw of a frag grenade, I regained composure. More snipers will do this base good.
I got actual, this is Little Bird 2, touching down at the site now.
Moving on to site now, Little Bird 2. Keep those engines on. Engaging hostiles. Frago. Little Bird 2, moving forward now.
Whoa, I'm back now. Sorry about that. Here at the utilities, there is a lack of enemy personnel. There were 4 guards out at the front and around a dozen towards the electrical section. Even with them pushing me and being lower on health, I still felt comfortable. Taking my time to heal and throwing a flare for cool effects, I moved towards the bunker. This base, sadly, is getting a 1.1 out of 10. I feel horrible for rating it this, as this is one of the most interesting spots on the map due to the nuke. More snipers and maybe a vehicle would fix this issue. Maybe whenever you move into the bunker, more enemies could spawn inside to give you that feeling of attack. Never surfed on the side of a helicopter before? Yeah, me neither. Welcome to the village. This place is located between Ronograd City and the utilities department. Even though this is just a village, don't let that fool you. This place has many snipers and sharp hostiles to take you out. This may just be my personal opinion, but the enemies here seem to have deadly aim. With a lack of cover, you can be eliminated in mere seconds. See how far away I was from him? He hit me with almost every bullet, despite the distance. Knowing how deadly this base could be, I equipped myself with an M24 sniper rifle. This would give me an equal chance at these ranged enemies. The lack of sniper shots meant I could push onward. By the way, even though it doesn't happen every time, some enemies can flank through the buildings. Keep an eye out for that. Taking my time, I moved towards the final set of enemies. For obvious reasons, this base is getting rated a 5.4 out of 10, just below the mountain. My strategy here could be optimized. Maybe grab a higher power sniper rifle and post up on one of the hills along the valley. Just be careful of making your way down if you do so. Ronograd City. A fresh feeling of life. Back to some close quarters action, I equipped myself with a shotgun. Due to the AH-12 losing its 30x mag, I ran the Benelli. I felt that if I placed my shots right, I could succeed without an automatic, high damage weapon. By the way, I've seen your comments about the 30x mag being removed. Thank you. I was quickly reminded about how rough the AI can be. I was able to take out a few, but I was ultimately pushed back. I managed to regain control, but then I found myself in a boss fight with this armored enemy. Luckily, I prevailed. Due to the close quarters nature of the city hall, you can be taken out extremely fast. Moving on, I cleaned up some of the stragglers on the other floors. I was almost taken out, and I was almost out of medical supplies. Ronograd City Hall ranks in at a 7 out of 10. I wish there were more enemies on top of the building, and maybe more in the side room waiting to ambush along with the hostages. Now, let's move on to the biggest challenge of all.
Echo that actual, this is Little Bird 2. You've got a heck of a fight coming up. Steel yourself.
Don't remind me, Little Bird 2. This will not be easy.
Making my way down the mountain, I quickly realized how hard this would be. I couldn't even make it to the gate without being gunned down by the truck. I had to improvise to get close to that gate without taking any damage. I got a jeep from base and parked to the left of the gateway. If I took a helicopter, I would have been shot down. I was debating on how to deal with the vehicle, then I remembered that vehicles are very explosive. A swift frag grenade is all it took. As soon as the frag grenade went off, I was under fire. The entire base knew I was here. This was not going to be an easy challenge. If you didn't know, this is the only entrance into Fort Ronograd. Enemies, along with the mounted turret on the vehicle, will do absolutely everything in their power to stop you from getting in. Nar, the game developer, said that Fort Ronograd should not be able to be taken over by a solo person. Well, I was determined. Even with my determination, I was quickly out of medical supplies and was halfway through my ammo. I ended up having to use the single fire feature, that way I would not burn extra ammo. Out of medical supplies, I had to make a move. I stole the Humvee and thought to myself, if the AI can flank, why can't I? Like an action movie, I drove the Humvee into the back of the fort. I was under heavy fire. I managed to even get hit despite my speed. My desperate attempt to reposition didn't pan out so well. I had fallen. But I knew I couldn't give up. I had to keep trying. And keep trying I did. I flew in with the Little Bird. I thought that I could stay under the anti-air turrets and land here on the ice. Thankfully, my thoughts worked out. I was able to land safely. I thought that my entrance strategy was sound. Using my frag grenade to eliminate the Humvee made sense. If I tried to peek and take the gunner out, I would have been taken out in mere seconds. I also kept the same loadout. Unlike the docks, the Scar H did me pretty well with taking out these enemies. With some careful peeks and healing as often as I could, I was doing well. This attempt felt different. I was pushed back, but with some luck, the enemies had lined up for me. With a solid spray, I took out a lot of them. They retreated, but I kept firing. I was able to hold my position down. Tapping down the remaining enemies at the front, I decided to revise my Humvee strategy. I drove it forward and I used it as cover. There were a few enemies that pushed me and tried to flank me even, but I ended up taking them out. The snipers had me pinned. I had to make a move. I heard one behind me, so I ran to the other side of the wall to get an angle on him before he could flank me. I took a more tactical approach to the rest of this run. Realizing I had less than full magazine on reserve, I had to choose my shots carefully. I had come too far to lose to any sloppy mistakes. Even with most of the enemies dead, it was still a challenge due to some of the enemies hiding out in the trees or behind cover. The lack of gunfire meant that I was close. I had forgotten about the anti-air Humvees. I don't know why they got rid of the actual turrets, but whatever. I quickly raced up there and I took them out, hoping that would complete the challenge. I was close, but I wasn't there yet. I tried climbing up onto one of the central buildings and I was quickly under fire. The last bastion of enemies revealed their position to me. I couldn't see them at all from up here, so I decided to move back to ground level. In my haste, I forgot I was dangerously low on ammo. A sloppy spray and a pistol swap took care of the flank though. With my heart racing and equipped with only a sidearm, I hurried to the final enemies. I knew it was either me or them. No going back now. With them pushing me, I held a full HP and took the final shots. This base took everything I had to conquer. I rated Fort Ronograd a 9.5 out of 10. The only improvement? Add snipers along the outside walls, or to the upper layers. Now that would make this base a 10 out of 10, and most likely impossible to solo. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more content like this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you guys next time.